Hello everyone, hi, it's Kerilie McDowall. I'm the director of In the Zone Rick Kilburn. And if you're watching this, you're potentially interested in donating to our fundraiser for the community, or possibly becoming an investor of In the Zone Rick Kilburn. And we'd love to have you along. So what this little chat today about is really just to get you kind of more familiarized with sort of the stats around the film currently, and a little bit of history about the film, and just a bit more for you to kind of sink your teeth into, because there's really quite a lot that an investor will want to know before getting involved, and that's only common sense. So I would like to sort of introduce you to who our cast was, who our crew was, and just give you a little bit of more familiarity with how our film was made, and a bit about the stats. And you're probably wondering what that 1.47 billion stat is about, and I'll be getting to that in a moment. So first, I just want to thank the community of Nanaimo for your wonderful support, and for voting us in for the Creative Innovator Award at the Woman of Influence Awards this year. My team and I were thrilled. The people that were involved in creating this film had been doing brilliant television work for many years, as led by some really fantastic producers there. Someone who I worked with very closely with for quite a while was Todd, who is probably one of the best directors I've ever seen in action. He's phenomenal. He's incredibly gifted, and I was so fortunate to have the opportunity to learn from him for several years when I was directing a show as a volunteer called Close Connections for many years. And so, and then, one day we decided, well, why don't we make a movie? This was Cameron McLean, the television supervisor of the studio's idea. And so he said, I'll give you a camera crew, Kerilie. Why don't you go out and shoot a film? And I said, sure. And so, I had to kind of think, well, who would I like to do a film on? And I thought to myself, well, Kerilie, you've been documenting a lot of music all your life. You've been very focused on music as a journalist, as a past jazz radio host, as a jazz writer in the past for Downbeat, as a past jazz guitarist. It's only kind of like a no-brainer to kind of look at someone in the jazz world and maybe do a real kind of intimate portrait of someone worth that kind of attention. And so I had remembered that I had worked with this fabulous producer when I was younger, in my 20s, named Rick Kilburn. And I thought of him, and sort of the idea just came to me and kind of went. And then, strangely enough, I was at the music store buying a new guitar, and who walks in but Rick Kilburn, and he didn't recognize me. I barely recognized him, but it'd been a long time. I hadn't seen him in maybe 25 years, or I don't know how long it'd been. And so that's sort of how it started. I decided to write an article about him in a wonderful magazine called Inspired, 55 Plus Lifestyle Magazine. And it just went from there. So when I had the opportunity to create a film, it just sort of seemed like a natural, organic process to ask Rick Kilburn if I could make a film about him. And at first he was very reluctant. He's got a lot of humility about him. He's very modest, and he didn't really think it was a good idea. It's like, I kind of get it, but now we're at the point now where we've had 1.47 billion views on IMDb Pro. They're I guess you could call them hits. I tallied up all the views over the past year, from June 2023 to June 2024, and was completely shocked and dismayed, and went into a bit of denial about the stats that were there at 1.47 billion. That was added up between Rick Kilburn, Jim Kilburn, Ron Hadley, really high stats there, and then also we had some music from a soundtrack artist that Rick Kilburn had recorded, and so he was in the film as well. John Stetch, we featured his music in the film. So it was, you know, Rick Kilburn, Jim Kilburn, Ron Hadley, who is a fabulous pianist, by the way. You'll love his performances in the film. He's just phenomenal too. And of course, it's really wonderful to see Jim Kilburn, who has now passed away in 2022, November 13th, rather. But, you know, Jim Kilburn, here he is performing as a senior, you know, as someone very advanced in age, just beautifully and just elegantly. And it's just wonderful to see his mastery. So, you know, it's not surprising that Rick became a master jazz bassist himself and a very accomplished music producer. So Ron Hadley is also just a very wonderful Qualicum talent, Qualicum BC talent, and is very well known for his work all in our region here on Vancouver Island. And so John Stetch is based in Vancouver, British Columbia, and he is a musician extraordinaire, really well known for his interpretations of Eastern European music and fusing it with jazz, as well as being a very controversial comedian. He likes to make fun of you know, politically correct topics. That's his thing. He tears those things apart and turns them upside down and creates a lot of controversy. But it's really quite hilarious if you appreciate satire and you understand what satire is. You can really maybe see it for what it is. And so we were really fortunate to have John's music in the film. So just from those people and myself as narrator adding up our stats, just the views we were getting, you know, it really did tally at 1.47 billion. You know, did I almost drop over dead? Like, yes, I did. Like, I wasn't expecting that. Because, you know, I calculated, you know, 1 week of the highs, and I think they were at like maybe 74 million. And I thought, well, wait a minute, Kerilie, that's only 1 week. And that's the highs for 1 week. Maybe you better look at the whole year because that only makes sense. So I did, and I went through it, and I what I did was I found ways to kind of do comparisons, you know, of similar films and how they had fared and how many hits they had had. And so I took 4 well-known films, shorts that were about jazz bassists or about jazz music, and I found that the stats were sitting, you know, maybe at 22 million fans, and I can't remember what that figure was. I think it came out something like at 178 million potential monetization at maybe a $3.99 fee for a view for the film. So that's what that was at, right? But I just want to get you the stats. I'm just gonna go into my computer here. I just have to peek around the corner and get the copy up here just so I can show you and maybe get a bit more specific about those stats because they're really quite interesting. But I want to just tell you a bit more about the crew. Like, we had this incredible crew creating this film from the Shaw Spotlight. People that I really loved working with for many years. Todd Jones, one of the most phenomenal directors ever here on Vancouver Island, and, you know, not just here but across Canada. He's a phenomenal talent. And I've got stories about his talent that would just floor you. I could get into the details about it, where he's directing so quickly and his switching on the equipment was so fast that no one could even follow him with our eyes. He was moving that fast. He's really quite amazing. So, but just to tell you about some of, the crew, because, you know, we had Todd Jones as our technical director. We had Stanislav Bobkov doing some incredible camera work. Wow, it was really good. And we had a volunteer named Doug Tombe who also did some really fantastic camera work as well. Him and Stas just blew my mind. And, you know, I also had ideas of my own that they executed beautifully. And we were working together as a team and collabing, and I had specific shots that I wanted, but I also knew their talent, and I like to take advantage of that. So we were working with that, and we also did some closed captioning with Doug Tombe, and also a wonderful person here on the island named Paul Rathke. And so he did some of our closed captioning. So we put it into Italian as well. We put the film into Italian because of a special film fest we were at. It was actually an environmental film fest and music fest, and it was called the Ferrara Corto Film Festival in Italy. So anyway, we did a lot of festing around the world. It was pretty exciting. We won awards. We won 13 awards. I'll get into that in a moment. But I just want to get back to these stats because, that's quite interesting too. So like 1,478,300,709 fans. That was the views, right? And then I saw, well, we charge $10 for this film because it's an award-winning film. That brings potentially in $1.4 billion, but more realistically, maybe charging $3.99 or possibly higher. I don't know. We would be at $589,841,982, right? So that was really interesting, and so that was some of the stats that I was looking at once I kind of assessed what had happened for the year. And so those stats, by the way, would be for the year, right? So if you're kind of more interested in knowing what that could be per week for the film, what it would bring in per week, let's just look at that. Got that up higher here. It looks like that would be... So our highest month, we were bringing in 191 million views. So it looks like at that rate, we would have been, at the $3.99 mark, maybe in the 76.4 million range per month, right? So that was really quite interesting. Now, you may be wondering, what? You're probably not going to get all those hits, Kerilie. No, of course not. So what I've done there is I've only calculated 10% of those figures, right? So for example, the 191.7 million views per month, I took 10% of that figure, okay? And then I multiplied it by $3.99, and that's how I got the 76 million. And I did that same with the 1.4 billion. We took 10% of that figure and tried the $3.99 approach. So it's not to say that it would be 10% or more or less, but it gives you a general park idea figure. Okay, so we were really lucky to film in a wonderful small town, the quaint village of Qualicum, BC, where Rick Kilburn and his family lived for many years, and we were so happy to have the opportunity to film at the old schoolhouse thanks to Ron Hadley. And we filmed there, and we got some really beautiful improvisation shots of Rick Kilburn and Ron Hadley together in duo. Just simply wonderful. And then we had the historic footage of Jim Kilburn with Ron Hadley and Rick. Rick performs a beautiful bass solo. I really wanted to make sure to really highlight that in the film because it was such a lovely solo. And, it's just fascinating hearing about the stories, looking at the photos. It's just really amazing to look at. It's very inspirational to see what Rick has done over his career. And I think part of the inspiration comes from his honesty about maybe being nervous performing with someone like Dave Brubeck. But, later, of course, he became this multi-awarded artist, right, and producer. So despite his maybe initial performance, kind of anxiety from time to time, he overcame it all, and in the end just has really just been such a success. And it's been wonderful to see him over the years doing so well, and now picking up these 13 awards with the team and myself. And So it's wonderful to see Rick Kilburn, and it's inspirational when someone is very good and has mastery at what they do, and yet is also quite humble and reflective, and with the humor. I think you'll enjoy the film, and so I really hope you'll watch the trailer. It's below, and watch the trailer. And if you'd love to watch the film, I'd love to send you the password and the link. If you're potentially an investor or someone who just wants to see it, it's fine to contact me. I'd love for you to see it. And the media and the press are also welcome to watch the film, so just get in touch. And so, okay, so I told you a bit about that and a bit about, where it was shot. We shot in the living room of Rick Kilburn at his beautiful house in Qualicum. It's kind of like this secluded, surrounded by this tall fence, beautiful garden, beautiful style house, kind of an A-frame style house. And so we shot the film in his living room, and we also shot it in his music production studio, and then also at the old school house. So that's where the main shooting was being done for the film. And because Rick was so fascinating, we didn't really need a lot of varied scenes or it was a short film, of course. So but part of the process was me interviewing him. And of course, you may not know this, but I've interviewed people for many years, for decades, and so it was really interesting to see what Rick had to say. Again, I was quite inspired, especially when Rick came to a certain point in the film and said this. I'm just going to frame this for you, what he said, because you've got to hear this. So, the pursuit of music is basically the pursuit of oneself, a very spiritual undertaking. And, when he said that, it made the whole film worthwhile. I just thought, that's just amazing. That just encapsulates mastery and sort of the process of creative exploration, and what it means to people who really pursue their art in that manner. And it was really quite profound for anyone that feels that way themselves. So, and I have always felt that way about my music, that it's got a very strong spiritual source power, and that it really aligns with who I am in that manner. So anyway, it was wonderful to see Rick touching on aspects of this throughout the film, and just hearing his stories. And there's really some amazing photos of him performing with the Brubecks and others. And I just think you'll really love the film. If you haven't watched it yet, I really want you to see it. And, we're hoping to make another film. I just want to tell you, I'm hoping to make another film going forward in the future, where I've got some really fantastic ideas and for that. And so maybe you'll join us with that too. And maybe we can get down to Hollywood and do some festing. And, who knows, maybe we'll even make it down to cons. That would be a thrill. But so I'm hoping to release a feature film eventually as well. But first, I want to finish the post-production for Rick Kilburn, in the Zone Rick Kilburn. This wonderful film that has taken on a life of its own. We're 4 years past our release date, which was sort of kind of messed with because it was released during the pandemic. In fact, the whole country shut down right the day after I released the film. So I could only compete online in Film Fest, unfortunately. And even the Banff Media Fest was sort of kind of off limits to me at that time. So yeah, it was difficult. But, in the end, we were very honored to receive the Creative Innovator Award from the Women of Influence Awards this year. Myself as director and our team, I was just so happy to see the team get honored locally, because they had been doing such creative, exciting, fascinating work for so many years. And I just want to say, they have been creating television, yes, but then they started putting it on YouTube, and then they started putting it on Facebook. And so you're wondering, well, why are you mentioning that? Because that's how I created my film. I created it for all those three mediums all at once, specifically simultaneously, and that was deliberate and intentional. So because of that, and it only seemed logical because that's what we'd been doing, because of that, I won 3 Best Web and New Media Awards from Hollywood. Some nice film fests in Hollywood, Indie X, Indie Short Film Fest, and Independent Shorts Awards. So that was really quite thrilling. And, you know, we won the Best Short Documentary of 2021 from the Hong Kong International Short Film Festival. That was a huge honor. I was so excited about that one. And, you know, a Best Director Award from the Seoul International Short Film Festival, and there was the Toronto Film Festival of SIFT, where we won a Best Canadian Documentary Award, a Best Canadian Short Documentary Award. So, you know, it was just really quite an exciting time as the awards started coming in, and I was really excited to win an editor Best Editing Award, because, you know, that really reflected a lot of what I'd learned from Todd Jones, and who had really guided me along there, and it was really reflective of Todd, that award. And so I was really happy to see that one come in too. So, you know, we had this amazing team, we had this amazing cast, and it's just led to this phenomenal experience. You know, the whole world was contacting me for several years, and it was actually hard to function for a little while when that was happening. But it's been a really interesting ride, I guess you could say, or an interesting experience, a phenomenal life experience that I have really enjoyed. It's been an honor speaking to so many people from around the world, and getting to interact with the fests. And I want to thank everyone at the fests globally. Each and every fest is fantastic. I really loved you all. Thought you were all doing really wonderful, creative things, and really wonderful festivals, and really a wonderful way for directors to showcase their work. So I also want to thank the Nanaimo community, and say that we'd like to launch in the community eventually, where we hope to do some fundraising to give back to the community. We'd like to do that, you know, eventually, once we get past the main kind of fund drive, fundraising for the film. So that's a little bit about that, and you can find out more about that on my website. And I just want to say that I'll put some links where you can find out more about what we're talking about with Rick in the Zone Rick Kilburn in the community, and that kind of fundraising aspect that we want to do for charity. We'll pick a couple of charities, and then we'll donate on behalf of the film. But you know, the way we'll do it is so that people can, of course, get reimbursed for their donations. But it's just something that I'd like to organize. So there's that. And also, you know, we're looking forward to meeting you, and meeting our wonderful community. And, you know, we were excited to be I was excited to be put into the Mover and Shakers column in the Business Examiner recently. And we're really happy about that. And we'd just like to thank everyone in the community that has, you know, stepped up, the Nanaimo News Bulletin, you know, Nanaimo Magazine. There's been, you know, the Woman of Influence Awards, Korshaw Spotlight. You know, just a big thank you to everyone involved. And I hope to go forward. You know, we're really excited about this Hollywood distribution offer. Have I talked about that yet? I guess I'm gonna have to mention a bit more about that. So yeah, we have a Hollywood distribution offer, and so we're hoping to raise the funds so that we can finish off the post-production work for that distributor, and then go forward. And some of the platforms the distributor has, I'm just going to bring them up here on my computer so that I can list a few off for you, so that you can hear, because it's quite exciting. Like Netflix is one of them, Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV, Yuvo TV, the Roku channel, IMDb TV, Hulu, Voo, HBO, VA Media, Discovery Channel. So these are some of the main, you know, really exciting platforms, Rakuten TV, TCL. So this Hollywood distributor is using those platforms to get film directors involved there, right? So and YouTube videos, there's some other ones like the Vizio and Tubi. So that's just a little bit about that. Now, I'm still putting together the figures and the expenses that I think we're going to need to raise. And I'd also like to really pay my crew and, the stars of my film. So I hope that we can generate some income so that we can get to that point, so that I can really compensate people in the film the way I'd like to, because, we'd really like to get to that point and be able to finalize and get this film off onto its own little journey around the world and happening and, just lined up with what we think it should be doing. It's taken on a life of its own, and we're happy to send it a little further. And, we have been working with fests from all around the world. I just want to mention some of them here. I'm just going to scroll down on my document here. So some of the film fests that we were working with were in Japan, London, UK, Tokyo, Sweden, Berlin, Vegas in the United States, Hollywood, London, of course, Tokyo, Vancouver International Movie Awards. Let's see, Tokyo International Short Film Festival, Milan, Vancouver International Film Festival, Hong Kong International Short Film Festival, Seoul International Short Film Festival. Look at all this stuff. It was so crazy. We were going all over the world with this stuff. We really loved festing in Asia, especially. We really loved that. We just had so much fun. Okay, and then there was Rome, Hollywood, of course, Toronto. We were really happy to fest in Toronto because we couldn't really fest locally because of the pandemic preventing that, and also because of conflicts due to many of our people involved in the film were often on those judging boards, so we couldn't get involved with local fests. But San Francisco, the Montreal Independent Film Festival selected us. We had all these selections all around the world selecting our film, and that was fun. Australia Independent Film Festival, so there were many, and there's many more that I haven't mentioned here, but that just gives you a sort of a taste at how the film has traveled around the world. And so thanks so much for joining me and, joining me and lasting this long to the very end. And I think if you are, interested and would like to learn more, I'd love to meet with you. So please call me. I'd love to hear from you by phone. My phone number is 250-668-3589. That's 250-668-3589. Or you can just email me through my website in the zonerikkilburn.com or kerilie.com. And just click on the contact tab, fire off an email to me, or just, maybe phone is best, but, I'm open to a DM as well. I love the DMs. So I'm just looking forward to hearing from you and connecting with you, and maybe we'll get down to Hollywood or cons in the next year or two. So there's lots of excitement and kind of prestigious experiences to be had in the future. So I really hope to make that happen with you and enjoy the process and have a lot of fun doing it. And again, a huge thank you to all who have supported the film and the community and everyone involved, to the cast, the crew, to Shaw Spotlight, to Nanaimo Magazine, Nanaimo News Bulletin, Times Colonist, and Business Examiner. All of you have been so supportive, and I thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care, and happy summer.